5 o'clock, we will call this meeting of the Sustainability Commission to order. Let's see, we will get into, join the meeting, there we go.
Yep,
You didn't join the meeting?
Join the meeting, I was on so early it wasn't available.
Is everyone joined? Let me just double check to make sure everyone's joined. Chase
Oh, not joining.
and Mark.
I'm getting there. I gotta find my pen.
Okay, we can wait.
We're disjointed?
I've been trying to think about, I've been trying to think of puns to
Equal Randy?
No, please
just
don't.
to kind of like write down, so, it's-
Mark, please don't.
Okay. We still had to leave the last meeting.
Oh, phooey, yes.
Hanging on.
This is a problem with the
What meeting were you in?
Okay, thank
The
you,
one night.
Chase.
Oh!
The tablet before, this is why it's so important. If you're sharing tablets, you have to leave the meeting. Just letting you know, Randy.
Yes. Well, I know you all want me to leave the meeting.
So you can pass along the word.
I'm working on it.
Chase, you never left.
It's here the whole time.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you end up late with something.
That's all right. You're only owing us 2 minutes so far.
The login has failed.
Oh,
It's not good.
I signed in yesterday.
All right,
and
let
actually
me-
signed in
let
this morning,
me-
too. So I know that it's.
let me put you in.
Okay.
Do you see yourself in?
Do I see myself in?
Yes.
Speakers at the top of the agenda.
Did you sign in?
No, you can't
Huh?
get into the sign in.
Yes.
Oh,
Did you get booted after 3 times?
No.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Why should it have been on top?
That's good.
Well, you never know.
Oh, you want to wait?
Sometimes,
that.
yeah, but I actually don't
Why
know
don't we
if
do
you
that?
get booted after
Yeah,
3 times.
that's a good idea. Yeah, I think so. For a nickel.
It's buying influence.
Hey.
Yay. And
Success.
then join the meeting
Yep.
and present voting.
And yeah,
save,
you got hit,
and
yes.
right. Okay,
All right,
And
And
then
save.
all righty,
cool, we'll jump
You
into
got it. Nice work.
roll
Nice
call
work.
now.
okay?
Chair, present, Vice Chair Ned Dorff,
Present.
Alder Randy Scannell,
Here.
SC Fells,
Here.
Deb Hutchison,
Here.
Chase Highland, Julia Nordic,
Here,
Stephanie Ortiz,
Nordic.
I'm sorry. Not here, unexcused, Mark Walter.
Here.
All right. On to approval of the agenda for February 13th.
Motion to amend the agenda?
There's a motion.
Before we approve it?
There's a motion to amend the agenda from Alder Randy. Is there a second?
Second.
Uh, Informational number 2.
Is there a second to,
Second.
Yeah.
okay?
Motion to,
Okay,
Informational number 2 to our first item.
okay, so after approval of the minutes before regular business.
That's the spot.
That's the spot. All right, motion on the table. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. All right, back to the main motion, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Vice Chair Dorff, second by Alder Randy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay.
hold on 1 second. Okay,
All right, now we are on to approval of the minutes from
So
June. So there's a motion from Randy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chase. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
hold on 1 second. Okay,
All right, motion passes. On to our guests from Economic Development and Planning.
Okay,
Thank you for being here.
thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I'm Erin Rosnick. I'm a design specialist in community and economic development. And
I'm Matt Buchanan. I am an economic development specialist in community and economic development.
yeah, So Celestine told us that you guys would like a presentation, kind of like an introduction to our department comprehensive plan. So yeah, so our comprehensive plan, we were thinking that we could present on it. I'm not sure if any of you guys have really, I mean, just, through different positions you've been in, read through it or had any part in when it was created. But we can talk about that, and then we can have a discussion if you'd like to, if there's anything that you guys are looking to see in there, and any other questions you have about other things we have going on in our department. So I can give like a brief summary, and maybe answer some questions if you'd like. So our Smart Growth 2022 plan, that's the name of our comprehensive plan, was adopted in 2003, I believe. So we've had it for a while, and it's basically a long-range plan to accommodate for growth in the city population and land area, while also being responsible about the resources and the networks, and just improving the quality of life or maintaining the quality of life. So it does have to follow state requirements for the topics that we put in there. So some of those that I thought, well, after looking through the plan, the ones that probably relate the most to what this commission's mission is or vision would probably be the natural resources plan, land use, transportation, parks and greenways, public utilities, just finding things in there. And so some of our departments, other departments in the city, they do have more work on that, like Parks has a Parks plan, so they probably go more in depth, but since this is a comprehensive plan, we do cover all of those topics, including like water utility and infrastructure, things that you might see in DPW. So that included a long advisory committee and public engagement process too. So the city was involved in all of that and making sure that this was a plan for residents and businesses too. So what we have here, we have two very big books, and you can also see this on the website too. We have like the analysis and conditions and concept plan, and then we have the objectives and the policies that kind of answer the questions or find priorities based off of the questions that are asked in the analysis. And then we have those different plans that I talked about, like we have the land use and natural resources and things like that. And then we also have district and corridor plans that go even more in depth in that we've done since this comp plan. So we've done stuff for University Avenue, Velp, down by Lambeau, and we have a downtown plan, and I'm probably forgetting some. But and then the school district and the city are working on a safe routes to school plan, bike and pedestrian plan too. So that's in the process right now. So I guess I can just give you, I don't want to take up too much time with this, but I guess I can give you briefly like what our main goals are through this plan for some of our things. So for natural resources, it's really just, its focuses on water actually, just because of where we're located by the bay and we have the river, and then other waterways too. So it pretty much is guidance for managing wetlands, floodplains, woods, and natural areas, and improving the habitats for sustainable development, ecological responsibility, quality of life, and economic development. So that pretty much describes like a lot of what our department does too. Since we are community and economic development, we work a lot with housing and economic development, the businesses, and then also a lot with the wetlands and streams too. So those talk about water resources, some of the policies that we would like to put in place to just protect some of our resources, the groundwater quality, wildlife habitat, making sure that the FEMA floodplain, that's accurate as that gets updated, which may be coming up in a few years. And also with soil resources and erosion, and since we do work in development a lot, erosion control is very important, and making sure that developments around that are being responsible with that and protecting the areas where we shouldn't be building, or we should have a buffer. And we also have different setback requirements around wetlands, and then that also plays into just general development too. And one of the things that is in the plan is that we would like to have best management practices for water quality, low impact development, and riverbank protection. And so then another thing that we talk a lot about is transportation. And even though that's a public works infrastructure, that's also very important because that plays into all the other departments too. So the goal for that is to have safe and efficient movement of people and goods, and variety of choices, enhance livability and quality of life. So we do emphasize all alternatives of driving or active transportation and transit, because I think it's important to have more than just one mode to get around, because that's not what our residents are using. So we really do try to focus on probably a more sustainable way to get around, and so we try to accommodate and actually promote bicycling and pedestrian walkways, and really design the streets for those other modes of transportation, and including transit ridership. And like you can see, we have the bike racks on there for like those the last mile trips. Just you take transit, but then also what happens after you get off transit. So you have an option there for more than just walking or taking paratransit. And also included in our transportation chapter is parking management, because vehicles, they're parked all day, they're only being used for a small fraction of the day. So really managing that and making sure that we are not using up a lot of our valuable space with parking, but being able to put it to better use, or not taking up land and possibly green fields with that. So then parks and greenways, I won't talk too much about this because parks they have a lot to say about that too, our parks department. But they also want to practice ecological stewardship. So some things in our plans, they talk about rails to trails a little bit, active or inactive railroad lines becoming trails. So changing that from freight rail to pedestrian, bicycling, and other forms of active transportation. And then also to, like I said before, in natural resources, protect natural areas with the setbacks, manage drainage ways naturally, use sustainable plantings, link open spaces, and keep unmanaged places too. So we have our system of parks and greenways in the city, but then also keeping areas that may not be manicured, managed like that, just leaving it to that and creating those links, those corridors. We also have a chapter on public utilities. So making sure that this kind of goes hand in hand with land use, making sure that when you extend services, it's in a planned, staged manner to minimize the impacts to the natural environment. And I'll probably talk more about that with land use. So just to minimize infiltration and inflow and minimize the disturbance to our environmentally sensitive areas. And land use this is where I probably work a lot in, is their goal is to plan and regulate the pattern of land use to find a desirable balance among quality of life, property values, environmental protection, and economic development. So really that's where the title Smart Growth comes into place. And so invest in the established areas of our city instead of keeping expanding, and then be able to preserve the rural character that's already out there instead of sprawling out into those areas. And then also to forecast the population and job growth, because we do realize that we will have growth and that we will need to accommodate for that. But then also trying to have infill, promote that, and brownfield development. And also promote sustainable urban development. So just trying not to try to limit unless it's unless you have a case for developing outside of the urban service district. And like I said, redeveloping brownfields, and Matt works with that too.
Yep.
And also transit-oriented development, and really this is regional. We work within our boundaries, but also to have intergovernmental coordination, because even though we work within these boundaries, our neighbors, we need to make sure that our neighboring jurisdictions, because people live regionally, so to accommodate for that too. So that was probably a lot, but it's a comprehensive plan, so we cover a lot of different areas, but I thought maybe those areas would relate to sustainability. It's not as much as what you see about probably the renewable energy side of it, but we do try to promote and when we do our work day to day, be guided by this document that
Right.
says we should have more compact development and preserve the resources that we have.
Right, kind of going off that, the comp plan obviously is a very broad, large document. And in our day-to-day work, that's kind of our guiding principles that we're trying to work within. So yeah, as Aaron was saying, brownfield redevelopment is a huge priority for our departments. We have EPA grants, we're applying for them every year almost. Recently, the focus has been on the more contaminated sites right along the river, because we know that's such a tremendous resource, and with the federal government and local and state government already putting so much money and effort into cleaning up that fantastic resource, it just makes so much sense to clean up all the properties along that riverfront. So with working on the shipyard and the rail yard, those are kind of our bigger targets that we're kind of going after recently. Historic preservation too has been another recent priority. We've got a brand new landmarks commission that we just started. We are offering a new loan to help those historic property owners make better use of those buildings and keep them functional in the long term. That is important. I think one of the more sustainable buildings out there is one that already exists rather than building a brand new one. So those are just a couple of the other day-to-day functions that we've been focusing on lately. We're happy to share more information on our day-to-day or what the comp plan looks like moving forward. It's beyond due for an update, and we'd love to work closely with you guys to figure out how that would look.
Hi, Ned, and I have a question and then a couple follow-ups. So, at what point was this part of the plan, or it's probably all the whole plan? Can you just tell us the date that this was last updated?
It was approved initially in 2003, is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure when the last update was, like if it was, like at the 10-year mark or something like that.
No comprehensive.
No, there's
update.
been no comprehensive updates to the
Yeah.
city's land use plan since that one was
Yeah,
adopted.
the only thing I can think of is when we like add the district and corridor plans to it.
Right.
Okay.
So.
Okay. It was good to hear about the linking open places and creating corridors. So I have a question about that. About 8 years ago, my friend Nancy Nabak and I kind of developed a project called the Pollinator Corridor for Green Bay, and it was where we put in plantings to make little island habitats for pollinating species like bees and butterflies and whatnot, and kind of in response to certain collapse of certain numbers of those species. And we've done that here and there, but we've never taken a look at the comprehensive plan of the city to say, okay, where are these areas set aside for unmanaged space, one, or to create linking habitat, two. So is that something that we could at some point look at, like on a map? Here's where you'll find this space that the city has set aside to be unmanaged or restored to native Wisconsin plantings. Is there kind of a map that we could look at to get some idea? Because there's a lot of people out there that would like to help, I guess.
Yeah. I guess it depends how large of an area you're talking about, because that could be included in certain development. Like if, we have a certain percentage that we have to keep for like impervious
Open space.
surface or open space. So it could be like that, but if you're talking about larger corridors, it's probably in like our future parks and greenways map. And that may be on our official map, and then probably the Parks Department has a map like that too, where they want city parks at least, but I think we have that too. I can look that up for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you know if the plan has, I don't remember, environmental corridors identified within it? I know that the county plan does.
Yeah.
And many local plans do.
I'm not sure, but yeah, then you
Greenways.
make up you bring up a
Or-
good point, like
Or
a lot of
environmentally
things.
sensitive areas.
That's what
Yeah.
my question was.
Yeah,
Because you mentioned that.
a lot of good resources are through the county too, like when they talk about the regional corridors too. So I'm not sure if we have it for ourselves or if we just refer to the county on that, so I'll have to see.
Yeah, the county doesn't have jurisdiction within the city
Yeah.
for ESAs, so
Yeah.
they defer to whatever the city defined.
Yeah, oh, so you're just talking about ESAs?
Well, ESAs are a subset of environmental corridors.
Mhm.
So, but then go back to kind of what Ned was talking about, areas that are environmentally sensitive in one manner or another,
Mhm.
from a habitat standpoint, water quality standpoint.
Or even land
That's-
that's just mowed grass that's not used right now, that could be converted into an environmental,
Yeah.
habitat.
I mean,
Yeah, like we have vacant properties that like the city or the RDA owns too, so that there's opportunities for that too. So those vary in size.
Yeah, traditionally, comp plans do have in their existing conditions section, just this is what's there. This is the land use and open space and greenways and things like that are usually identified, and then usually identify opportunities for enhancing those spaces or creating new ones. So yeah, I think that fits in quite perfectly.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'd be really curious about the timeline for developing the new one, and is it going to look largely the same, like in terms of different criteria, or as the previous one, or is there room for new categories like energy use and things like that?
There's always room to add more. They have like a list of what we need to include, but it doesn't need to be like, oh, you have to have this chapter and then end at this point. So we can always add a chapter or incorporate something that we find important into each one. Like we were just talking about public health the other day. Like it's like, is that its own chapter? Do we incorporate it into each of these topics? And the timeline, so it really just comes into, there's a lot of factors into that, although it is time for an update and everyone agrees to that. So I think we're going to be starting to figure out the format and the strategy for it this year, probably this spring or summer. We're going to start looking into it because we do want it to look different. We still want a document that is comprehensive and that is detailed and that we can reference in our work for the next 20 years. But we also want it to be something that's a little bit more readable to the public because it's heavy. It's thick. You don't really know where to find it. You really can't download all of it at one time and do a control find for what you're looking for. So it's not as easily accessible to everyone. So we want to find that balance. So we really are going to start probably strategizing about how to do that before we really get into the content and engagement and advisory stuff. So we'll have to come back to you with that. But we think we'll probably be thinking about the format about that in the next few months.
Great, yeah, definitely let us know how we can help. Looking at, other
Yeah.
cities and their comp plans, there's, some cities take the strategy of just making sure that all of those existing components consider sustainability.
Mhm.
Other cities have standalone chapters on it, so.
Yeah, that's a discussion we've had internally too, should we have our own standalone chapter on sustainability, or it's almost hard to do because it belongs everywhere.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It should be interwoven throughout every chapter, so maybe that's how we handle it.
Mhm.
Yeah, if there's, anything that you've seen, like just on your own time or anything, you can always let us know if you're like, "Yeah, you know, I think this is a practice that needs to be updated," or if you see something that may be lacking or something you'd really like to see as a focus, as something we talk about. Or even if you have any other questions about if you think things are going the same direction as what your mission is, just let us know too.
Yeah, and if there's things you see in other communities that we could adopt here, we'd love to hear those ideas as well. Great.
Are there any other things in terms of the plan or other day-to-day work that you have that you could see a commission like ourselves assisting with or helping take on?
That's a good question. The EDA kind of covers brownfields,
Mhm.
but it's certainly, we're just discussing possibilities. Economic Development Authority kind of oversees the brownfields program, but there's no reason why we wouldn't want to weigh in, have you guys weigh in as well. Maybe on sustainable transportation options.
Definitely.
I have a really good document from the EPA for when developing brownfields and integrating green infrastructure into them.
Yeah.
And it came out of Detroit because they have so many.
Yep.
But I can share that with you as a resource. There's some really good practices. There's some really good things in that.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And that's just for good for redevelopment of places with basements and stuff too.
Mm.
I'll leave definitely a few cards for you guys. We have engaged with EPA recently about saying they've selected Greenway actually to provide some technical assistance to our community, and we would love to work alongside you guys with helping identify some priorities with how they might be able to help us. So we're still kind of early on in those conversations, but we'll be back to figure out how to move that one forward.
And then also, I gave a presentation to this group a few months ago. It's about a green infrastructure code and ordinance audit for
Okay.
municipalities, and it's a tool, and the Public Works Department was here too, so it's definitely, but we've had planning departments, obviously planners like this stuff, so I would like to come talk to you separately about that, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, we're so happy that actually there is a sustainability commission now. I mean, as planners, this is what we're all about, and so absolutely, there's no reason why conversations need to only take place in this room at this time. We're more than happy to have other kinds of conversations about our day-to-day work, so.
Yeah, we have a decent, large department.
Yeah,
so.
please feel free to reach out to us.
So there's one thing I wanted to add. So Matt and Aaron, they are our third department to come and talk to us. And as, you know, Aaron and Matt are giving information, and unfortunately I was not here for Steve's presentation, Steve Grenier, the Director of Public Works, his presentation. I'm thinking to myself, you know, I think because the minutes are legal minutes, so they don't reflect the conversation, but we do have verbatim minutes that I can have a staff member kind of roll up and make pretty, so that I can provide, if that is your desire, the members of the commission, essentially the verbatim minutes. You'll get the verbatim minutes, but we'll make it look prettier than it is right now. So that you actually have a record to refer to with these staff presentations. And Julia's presentation is already included in your packet because that was a PowerPoint. So that's not something I would need to recreate. But is that something you'd be interested in?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything that's easier to read, yes.
Yes,
Sounds good.
Yes. Because I'm thinking, you know, you're providing a lot of good information. I have a way to get that to you. So, all right, I will get that done.
All right.
Thanks a lot. I'll leave
Thanks,
these
Matt
for you
and Aaron.
guys to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I know where to find them.
Okay, so
All right, great.
Okay.
Waking my computer up. All right, moving on to the next item then.
Sorry, that is Regular business.
Regular business, do we need to, like, motion to receive and place on file? Or is it?
I like the motion to receive and place on file with informational.
All right.
So,
Is there a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
There's a
second it.
motion by Mark and a second by Essie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, received and filed.
hold on one second.
All right, while we are waiting here, we can pull up the attachment in the next item. Get that all downloaded.
Okay.
Which is regular business one.
Yes,
Yes.
regular business renewable energy work plan.
Okay. All right, ready?
All right, so moving on to regular business, the renewable energy work plan. After, I guess, a few months of some research and consulting with other communities, consulting with other members of the commission, and attending even some really great conferences, and just in the spirit of early 2019 planning to extend the goals that we identified at the last meeting. I wanted to put forth a renewable energy work plan that really outlines our specific next steps and the long-term vision for how, as a commission, we can identify that. So you're going to see a very big picture, 11-point plan here. I'd like to go through it and see if there's any changes and have this be kind of our guiding document. I think that it would benefit council to see what our strategy moving forward would be on this, but then going out of this potential approval of this plan, I think that there are a couple action items that we could take and immediate next steps. So with that, we can just jump into the plan. So I think that, as a commission, we identified that renewable energy and figuring out how to be 100% renewable energy at some level, whether municipality-wide or community-wide, was a priority that we wanted to explore. In figuring out how to do that, it seems like there are a ton of technical questions, a lot of scientific considerations, a lot of economic benefits, and also a lot of economic drawbacks. When looking at how other local communities began the process of committing to 100% renewable energy, there seemed to be extensive planning and extensive reports. So I think that this commission, first off, should just recognize that if we were to put any sort of goals or any sort of strategy or any sort of ordinances in front of our common council or in front of the mayor, they would want to have some answers. So with that, I think that the first component of our renewable energy work plan and the immediate action that we can take after today's meeting would be to have a work group. I imagine Ned and myself would be part of that, but to research and compile a white paper, executive report type document that outlines some of these considerations, just so we can have the information on the how and the why, and some of the more technical and, like I said, economic considerations. So there are a number of things that could be included in a report like this. I put out a list right here. I don't think that that's necessarily an exhaustive list, but the idea would be to take the next few months to develop a report. I think I put an ambitious deadline of April. We can see how that goes, but to have a report, and then we would present it back here for first for approval and then for further presentation. And once it is approved here, we would put it to we would give it to common council. Now, within this report, I would like to see specific policy recommendations. So if we talk about the economic long-term benefits of renewable energy at a municipality level, we would want to put in a policy recommendation to later be considered by council, which would be 100% renewable by X date, for example. So that's kind of the idea of that. Following a presentation and discussion at council, I think that it would be strategic, and I think it would be best to come back to the commission and to take those policy recommendations and what any discussion that happened at council and any public feedback, and to write a resolution to codify some of those ambitious or reasonable goals. And then we would then, hey, there we go.
Yes, oh my gosh, so sorry, yeah, for the flickering television, but for our visitors, this is what we're talking about. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So basically, we would present the information and recommendations to council, taking their discussion and also public feedback. We would come back and prepare a resolution to, again, submit to council that would identify long-term goals for transitioning to renewable energy. And that leaves us, that doesn't necessarily bind us to deciding that ourselves. We can take input from the community, we can take input from other stakeholders, and we can take input from the decision makers to do that as well. Following that, we would submit that resolution to council, and then the idea would be, and going off of the model of what other cities and municipalities and counties have done, you go back and you create a renewable energy action plan. Some communities call it a climate action plan, but that goes back and that actually says, okay, so you created 100% by 2050, for example, benchmark. How are you actually going to get there? So that's where things get technical, and where some communities have actually brought in consultants. The good news is the Public Service Commission for the next, I believe, 4 years is going to have grant opportunities available. It's a really cool grant. Ned's actually the one that told me about it, and I've heard about it from some other sources too. It's grant money from the state that can go towards both consultants to help develop a technical plan, or actual infrastructure for renewable energy. So really unique that there's a grant available that can fund both, but this could potentially fund a really detailed action plan to get us to reach those benchmarks. Beyond that, I think that the first action item I'd like to recommend tonight would be the creation of this plan. We can work on that. The other thing, when we talk about reaching net zero emissions, we have to use a baseline for those emissions. I think that when the UN talks about it, they talk about like 2005. Other local communities like Eau Claire uses 2015, I think. We would need to actually figure out what that baseline would be. And we have fantastic higher education, a couple fantastic higher education institutions in the community that could help with that. So I would like to, and I emailed Chase about this too, to see if we could approach UW Green Bay to potentially conduct a baseline greenhouse gas emission study to be used as a reference for future carbon reduction goals. So that would be another actionable step. That wouldn't necessarily need to happen before the completion of this plan, but the sooner we get on that, the better. Beyond that, I think the rest of it is just more overarching and guiding in terms of how we can move forward on addressing renewable energy. Just codifying the fact that we plan on working with city staff to determine current levels of renewable energy versus other sources. It outlines the need to partner with WPS. Ned and I have been working on setting up a meeting with them to figure it out. The utilities obviously play a huge touch. And then there's a huge impact, a huge role in that. So I've also included some different things in here about potential ways to engage the community and different points in the community. And I know that any measures that we pass or any things that we want the city to do should have community input. So things like making it available online or having surveys or things like that. Enlisting the help of expert organizations. Renew Wisconsin has offered to come present at some point. Outlines potentially including energy policy in the new comprehensive plan, and then identifying other resolutions, ordinances that could happen, and then working within Brown County to work with other local governments. I was really pleased to hear that the United Nation would be submitting a resolution to their tribal council in the next few months here to commit to 100% renewable energy. I keep running into Will Erickson from the DNR Green Tier Legacy Community Program. He's really excited to work with us. As the folks from develop, well, they're not here anymore. As Matt mentioned, the EPA has offered strategic and technical assistance to some of these initiatives. I did speak with them after the shutdown about this plan, and they did offer some, to look at the white paper report that is outlined at the beginning of the plan. So they can help lend their expertise to that. And the final point is just mentioning that we want to continue to find money for it. So there's a number of grants out there, but there's always more projects than money available, so we can just commit ourselves to working on finding money for that. The only thing that I did not include in this plan that I think it would be appropriate for an amendment would be recognizing the partnership with NWTC in particular. I had the opportunity on Monday to tour the new Energy Education Center, and it was awesome. And they are really committed to helping with some more technical aspects of any projects that we might take on in the future. So that's my outline. I think that amendments, questions would be great. Julia?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I had two questions. Number or letter A,
Mhm.
scientific evidence. What does that mean? What are you actually looking for? What does that mean?
Yeah. So the main argument
For the
behind
report.
for the report. So what comes to mind first is the recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's argument for reducing greenhouse gases, and then there is also another EPA report that made the same argument. They're giving timelines of, we need to transition to renewables in 12 years before
So it's the
irreversible.
justification.
The justification,
That's
yep.
what- Okay, we also have, there's a lot of data for the Midwest.
Oh, cool.
And then also Wisconsin.
Great.
So, and because UW-Madison has a lot of good climate science.
Yeah.
So if you need more local science, climate science, then I can help you.
That'd be great.
That.
Yeah. Global stuff doesn't hit as hard as Wisconsin stuff. Did you have another question?
I did, I'm trying to remember.
Anybody else? What do you think?
I guess one of my thoughts is, when I read through this looks really great, and very ambitious. too. And so, we have these working groups, basically, but there's like one or two people on a working group. So I wonder, I don't know, to be help with this, that takes away from, I don't know. I guess it's just a thought out there, how are we gonna do it all?
Mhm.
Because the water resource, I think this looks great.
Mhm.
And that's a right step. I could see the exact same thing to try to develop, definitely number one around the water resources piece too,
Mhm.
easily. I'm sure for all of our topics. So, I don't know.
But we don't have to do all this, right? That green chair that can help them, right?
Yeah, well, so if we just take number one, for example, we've got, assistance from the EPA, we've got assistance from, NWTC, potentially UW Green Bay. Wisconsin Conservation Voters has 5 local interns that are able to help with research. I think that members of this commission can work to find existing information and to make sure the workload isn't as much. But I think that's a very important consideration that we should be thinking about.
when I read through it, I thought this looked really good.
Thanks.
So.
Going back to Julia's point, can our working groups be more than the commission
Oh,
members?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like you're saying.
Figure out how to loop other people in.
Yeah, right.
That's the whole you.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Can we do that? Because that would be great.
Mhm.
There's probably volunteers or people in the community who are interested who would love to join.
Mhm.
And does that entail a formal process to bring people into the mix?
No. I mean, so if you are, if you're working on something and if you write something you want to report back to the group, so then that is the formal way to notify the public what you're doing. But, certainly you can meet and talk with anyone and talk about lots of different, ideas and, bandy things back and forth and then bring it back to the group. I will double check that with the law department, but I think that there's no impediment there.
like with the report, for
Question,
example,
Nick.
I figure if we get like a team of interns working on it, we just make sure that they're credited for their time, final report.
So, question, and I probably directed it toward you, Celestine. This is, so you mentioned the grant. So I worked on this last year. Grant came out in May, I believe, April, May, somewhere in that range. And that's when I began asking the city for numbers on energy use, as far as how much energy do we use, how much gas, how much electricity, all city operations. Worked with my alderman to try to track down some numbers, and still haven't been able to, except through the park department. They came up with their data. So if we are going to pursue this plan, we need to know what's our baseline of use. Where do we go for the answers to that question?
So if we're talking about how much gasoline is put into our vehicles, what the mileage is per gallon,
Bless you.
what for those vehicles, if we're talking about how many kilowatt hours we use in our 20-some odd buildings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, streetlights, bridges,
Do we
everything.
have
Okay,
an
so
outline of
streetlights
everything?
are more complicated.
Do you have a framework to even fill in?
I'm sorry.
Is there a framework then to fill in? You just brought up like 3 different things. Is there a list of things we need to find, you know?
So is there an inventory that needs to
Yeah.
be created
Yeah.
of municipal facilities that are using energy? Or municipal,
That sounds, or is that
Yeah.
too down in the weeds? Do you need to select
No,
a
I-
higher level?
You know, I agree. I think there could be, buildings, right? Because we got DPW shop, we've got park shops, we got this, that, and the other thing. We've got City Hall, obviously, buildings, vehicles, right? We've got lighting, we've got the bridges, and we've got, other things that I haven't even mentioned. But, so I think an inventory to create that would be great. But, if we do that, where do we go to get the answers to fill in how much?
Right, so,
Is the study you want to do with, get the university?
No,
No.
it's
No?
how much
It's
are we,
different?
how much are we paying? WPS,
Or how much are we using?
How much are we using?
yeah.
Can't WPF at least answer that question?
I think
Or is it in the
answer-
budget? I mean, that's gotta be.
But not by, it's in the budget, but not by usage. It's in the
Mhm.
budget by how much we spent, which is not really getting at what I think you want to
Yeah,
know.
that's
right,
true.
yeah, but WPS tracks the usage by data.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So where do we, which department does that all go through? Right?
I'm thinking,
Counting?
no,
Parks was able to pull up their numbers.
Right.
So it might be that DPW has their numbers, Parks has their numbers.
see,
No.
so I'm fairly certain fire has, because there's 7 stations,
Mhm.
they have their numbers.
Transit has their numbers.
Right.
I mean, we're all broken into departments, I would think
Yes,
department-wide.
each department probably has their numbers, especially for, if we do, like you said, so the buildings, the electricity, the vehicles, how much gas. I'm sure that, especially for the very heavily dependent departments, which are many of them, like transit, like fire, like police, like DPW, they track at least what the miles per gallon is on the
On our buses.
sticker, right, yeah. I'm not sure if we track that once a bus is 10 years old. I don't know. But at least as
Yeah.
it was when it was new.
We still, every day we track it out.
Oh, every day. So I think each department would have that.
Monthly?
Streetlights,
I don't know,
I
transit.
should really know this about streetlights, but I can certainly, that's
That's
DPW. That's, yeah.
Monthly, whatever.
Bridge, now they're LED.
Cool.
That's the lighting.
That's the
It's not
lighting.
Energy usage as a lift bridge.
Right.
We have just fill potholes with that.
And then there's also the
Different
use of the, because it takes electricity or gas or whatever to lift the bridge. I think that's probably small compared to
Sure.
Overall.
gas and electricity.
Heating and cooling, the biggest one.
Can we put in a request from the commission to get numbers from different departments?
you can put in so what you would need to do, what your alder would need to do, who is not paying attention.
Always listening.
There are studies that people who doodle are actually more.
Yes, I am aware of that, indeed. So, Alder Scannell can certainly put in a communication on behalf of the Sustainability Commission to get information. I think we might want to get, you might want to talk
Sure.
a little bit to
Flesh
get
that out.
something specific. And my suggestion to you would be to go for the low-hanging fruit. That information is easier to get than,
Or maybe ask like someone we're partners with it and to see what's reasonable to ask for too.
yeah, that's true.
Like some of the folks that have come in here or
Yes.
what's easy accessible information so they don't look at
Exactly.
the list and go, are you kidding me?
Right.
That's exactly what I want.
So I think in April, Renew Wisconsin, they're a really fantastic Wisconsin-based advocacy group and policy group for renewable energy. They're putting together a local government toolkit, they're calling it. It's kind of based on the green tier scoring grid, but it gets way more in depth on renewable energy. So as soon as that is complete, I think it should be done by the beginning of April, but as soon as that's complete, that could be another thing to help us figure out what questions to ask at the very least with that. And they've also, like I said, offered to come talk to us in a few months.
I could have a friendly conversation with this beer line. Chris is white sky kind of thing.
Mhm.
For decades.
Good.
And recognizing that some of the very city-specific information might be hard to get, or there might be many layers to that onion. I think that with this initial report, we don't necessarily need to get too into the weeds. If we were to pass a resolution that had some, target dates, X% by this year, yada yada, coming back to do that renewable energy plan, like the action plan, that's where that information would come in handy more so. So this doesn't need to necessarily happen in a month for us to move forward on this, because there might be a lot of stuff to pull up, and if we get money from a consultant to help do some of the legwork, that might be a little bit more expedient and efficient, and then we won't have to do it.
So my second question was, I was wondering, this is all, maybe this has been answered in the previous, but it's all at the municipal level, like for municipal buildings and municipal property. Are we thinking for this kind of plan though also to incorporate how you move the community towards renewable energy,
Mhm.
just not the,
Mhm.
where does that?
I think this
How's that be?
encapsulates both.
Okay.
And I think that, following a report on transition, the whole theme of the first report would be transitioning to renewable energy. And, if Common Council is really ecstatic about doing it at the municipal level, but not at the community level, that might reflect our resolution. My personal opinion is we would need both.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that some of the recommendations might be, others. There's Sierra Club has a list of every local government in the country that's taken stances, and you see everything from like 100% at the municipal level by 2030, and then 2040 or 2050 community-wide, to municipal and community 2050. So I think there's a lot of different things, but my take would be we got to do both. It's just what's the target and what's the year and what's the plan to get there.
Did you want to add that NWTC?
Yeah. I think that just saying enlist the help and support from NWTC energy programs for, that's probably fine.
Probably fine.
For, unless anybody has a more eloquent way of saying it. Rely on the expert guidance of, yeah, we did this last time, let's do it again.
Are we looking at businesses that work in this area too, because I'm not sure that I saw that in the original draft.
Yeah, that's true.
But looking towards some expertise from some of our, local businesses that work in the area of renewable energy.
Yeah. Industry as well.
Would you like me to write?
And we'll list
It's the help and
the
support.
help and support, sure, of
Local industry.
local business and industry.
And don't those two just go with number or 10?
You could add that to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I was
list
gonna
of
say-
people we are gonna work with, partner.
I'm fine with that. Of adding that to.
So adding both. No,
That would be
No,
number
10.
10.
Number 10.
Up one.
Oh, sorry.
The tribal governments, the region, cities, continent, government, right after EPA.
So then should we put business and industry and higher education?
And higher education, yeah. That probably makes
Yeah.
sense, and then eliminate 12.
Yep.
Perfect.
Business and industry. Well,
Touch type of health.
And industry. Yeah.
Like that, but I'll fix that.
Cool.
And I believe there was a mention of GB at somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Was it
two,
in there,
three.
GB, or should I include?
That was very specific to reaching out to them to do an emission study, so I think it'd be fine to
Okay,
more
got it.
broadly
Okay, that's
base
fine.
them
Yeah,
down below.
okay.
Right,
If we could put
Well,
them
if we
in-
put higher education, do we need to list, I mean, what if we want to
Well,
head to St. Norbert or something?
Here's what it says to read.
Oh,
That
right.
that one, okay, but in terms of number 10,
Yeah,
Yep.
we should put them in number 10 as
Yeah,
well.
you're right.
And
where
where
you
you
have
have an overarching.
in parentheses, Northeast Wisconsin,
Uh-huh.
you could have IE, for
Mhm.
example.
Yeah.
GWGB,
IE,
Yeah.
Yep.
et cetera.
well, you list a couple specifics, because e.g., let's just be e.g. and IE.
EG is example, IE is a specific thing you're talking about.
EG doesn't
See, I
stand for
was like,
example
why you
though.
put those, like, oh, she knows.
It stands for something else, and then.
Did you want to include, is Oneida
Oneida
included in this?
Yes, it is. It's in number 10.
It is, it is.
Number 10. Yeah,
Yes.
local and tribal
Exemplary.
governments.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and they're really excited to meet with us. at
Yes.
this point,
For
too.
example, but it's in a different.
All right.
All right.
How do you say
IE
it?
is like, you're saying something specific.
What's the G?
It's
That's how you spell it.
It's gratia, it's like Latin.
All right. So other amendments, thoughts, questions?
I guess it's a matter of semantics. I see you use the word shall a lot in here.
Ah.
Was that specific, or was that pulled from other things? Because shall has a certain weight in ordinance and in legal language.
Does it matter in the work plan?
Well, if we're adopting this as a formal document, you want to pay close attention to some of the language. Shall engage and collaborate with other tribal people. Okay, if we don't, we're not doing the thing we said we would do. If we don't collaborate with. Again, in ordinance language, it's a little bit different. So I don't know if this it has that weight or not. I tend to avoid the use of the term shall, because it means you will do it.
I'm all right.
Period. No wiggle room whatsoever, and if you're
Yeah.
not doing it, someone can come back and say, why aren't you doing it now?
What would be a better term?
May.
May or will.
Well, will and shall are the same thing.
I like May.
May.
I like April.
All right, so a motion to replace every appearance of the word shall
Yeah, it's,
with may.
Okay. So there's a motion, wait.
Is that, I wasn't making that. Would
no,
that
that
would be
was,
a-
I'm just looking at that. I was asking a question initially.
We can adopt as amended, and I'll make sure that I fix
Okay.
that.
Is it friendly?
Yeah.
It was more, you know, this plan shall be developed in consultation. Is there a, should? What weight does should hold?
Less than
Should
shall.
is the conditional of shall, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah. What's wrong with me? That's pretty wishy-washy.
What is that?
Which is what we want, right? I mean, anything else is gonna
What did
be
you
pretty
suggest, May?
forceful.
What did you suggest? May.
May.
We're back to
May.
May.
Back to
Yes.
May.
Yeah.
Does May make sense for number 11?
I was just gonna say that.
Say 11.
I like the wordsmithing part of this. Have I said that before?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but it does.
The
All you have to
definition of
do is not even say shall. All you have to do is say, the Sustainability Commission constantly identifies funding opportunities.
more active language.
There we go.
Just
I like
pull
that.
out.
Yes.
Engages and collaborates, yeah,
Yes.
anytime, so, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So I'll fix that.
Okay, okay, cool.
Thank you.
Because I don't like.
Wordsmithing.
I don't like could and may.
Language, could, should, shall.
It is better to always have active verbs anyway.
Okay, perfect, okay.
So
I like lazy word.
I'll fix that.
Great.
Anything else on here before I take this off the screen?
They resonate with me.
All right, cool.
Just give me 1 second, so go back to.
Lazy.
Okay, so I would need a motion to amend as discussed,
Okay.
and then another motion to adopt as amended.
Well, have we adopted this at all yet?
No, so to amend.
So we don't need to amend it. We don't need a motion to amend if we haven't adopted it.
Well, as discussed, so everything we just said, because it was in the agenda, and we're gonna make changes.
But it was in the agenda as a working document, right?
Yeah.
So it's got no official capacity.
Discussion with possible action. It wasn't put as a working document to move forward.
Possible action
True.
And discussion.
and discussion. Yeah, I think if we just adopt as is.
No,
Or
as
adopt,
amended.
adopt
Adopt
with the.
Right,
Adopt with
discussion.
the
I
discussion.
see what you're saying,
Because
though.
she still
I
has
see what
to,
you're saying.
Yeah.
Adopt as is. I mean, we've got it as is.
she still is gonna make a few.
She still has to make
Yeah.
changes though to the
So
shells.
here's the problem.
Oh.
So this is going out to the public like that, right? And when the minutes reflect that we've made changes, the document needs to change with the minutes. So,
Because
but
that's our deal.
if we don't change it, then we haven't signaled to the public that we've made a change. If we don't
Right.
amend it.
So I make a motion to adopt with the changes that we discussed.
There's a motion by Julia, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Randy, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Give me 1 second.
My internet just went out.
So will
Okay.
this be
Wow.
forwarded? Will this,
All right, motion carries.
can I just ask a clarifying question? So when this goes to the next council meeting and the council approves our agenda, approves this, this is then accepted as our working plan, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Great.
Right, and like you're saying, then we can continually amend it if we need to.
Right.
And send it back to council.
Mhm.
And then
For a nickel.
also within the, within the next item, I did add, so this is the goals grid that we had talked about last time. I did add an additional column to reflect any other,
We need to, now we need to approve it.
so yeah, we would need to approve
Okay.
it. So is there a motion to approve,
What was the extra column?
to reflect any additional documents? So like renewable energy work plan, just so
Oh,
all of our
okay.
systems
Yep,
are talking
I- motion
No,
to-
not
Let me
yet.
get back to that.
We have to approve the work
That
plan.
was on this.
Yep.
Let me just-
Oh, we just did.
We amended it. Motion to amend, and then now we need to adopt it as
No,
amended.
I thought the
Was
motion
it,
was.
okay, was it adopted?
Adopt with the amended discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, sorry.
We wrapped it all.
2 for 1.
Yeah.
Two.
Hold on.
Adopt with the
Oh, that might be a dime.
That might be, that might be worth it.
Inflation.
Okay, now,
How do
we are going to the, are you ready to go to the next item?
Yeah, so I guess
One
with,
second.
Is your
I was
thing,
telling them the back
that
area.
chart you were looking at, was that in the package?
that's in update from Sustainability Commission work groups.
But then you go back to agenda for.
Yes, back to agenda into that. All right, so we good to move on?
Yes, we
Great.
are
So-
update from Sustainability Commission work groups.
All
That's
right,
where we are.
so now we have an informational, I guess, item on here for anybody to update on any of the things that have happened in the last month related to the goals that we discussed. If there are any updates to the group.
I met with some folks at UWGB to discuss some ecological restoration work. So that's the bottom working group down there. They wanted to discuss kind of the history of the pollinator corridor project and how to kind of reinvigorate it, move it forward a little bit, and see what other groups might want to join in as far as creating island habitat for pollinating species. And it was folks from GB and from the Greenway chapter of the Wild Ones.
Can I ask who you met with from UW Green Bay?
Sure. I'll just pull up all the names. This was with Bobby Webster and sorry, a million emails here. I'm trying to find the one with everybody on it. This was with Holly Keener and John Keener, her husband. They're both active in kind of the realm of sustainability. Amy Wolf, the other one, and then Cece Kiefer from Green Bay Wild Ones. So Bobby Webster is natural areas ecologist at UWGB. Holly Keener is the assistant to provost, and her husband's the environmental manager at Sterling Lumber Company. Did I mention? Did I say what everybody? Okay. Amy Wolf, professor. Yeah.
Conservation biology.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, they were all very kind of gung ho about getting some more plantings done, looking at spaces in the city and in the county, and maybe trying to do a connection between NWTC and GB that kind of crosses the whole city. When we started the corridor project, we looked at putting in habitats no further than half a mile apart. We were looking at that because we were looking at honeybee range, basically, and what's kind of a good, efficient range for honeybees. And that's not even a native pollinator, but you know, it's something that a lot of people are interested in. So it was good to get. We're going to kind of create a new map of where things currently are, and then kind of decide, you know, where do we want to invest some time and work, and how could the Sustainability Commission help in promoting that work, or you know, having people come in and talk about some of the ecological restoration work that they're doing in the city or you know in the county as well. So it was a good meeting. We're going to get back together in March. The folks had some questions about could they adopt certain areas to take care of? Could they, you know, how do we do stormwater retention pond, you know, vegetation management in the city, and just had some good questions, I guess, about city operations as far as how do we as a city promote pollinating species. So yeah, it was a good meeting, and hopefully we can even have in the future maybe somebody come in and talk about some of the work they're doing as far as doing ecological restoration. That was good.
Great. Any questions from Ned? All right. Any other updates from folks on initiatives?
Well, Seth helped us set up a meeting with, or a kind of dovetail meeting with Joshua, which is an environmental task force in town. And it snowed. So,
So much for the environmental
yeah.
task force.
So it has been rescheduled for the 27th. And, you know, we're just trying to get the word out about it. And it'd be a good chance for people to come and listen and ask questions and give input as to what sustainability means to them and what maybe they'd like to see the city do. All kinds of things probably will come up, so.
There's a Facebook event that Casey put together, correct?
I think Rachel from Joshua.
Rachel did? Yep. Was that sent to everybody? Yeah, so we could do that after.
I don't think that.
No, I don't. It was just, so this is mostly for the planning for a greater community forum on that, but they're trying to get representatives from all sorts of groups, so. You didn't get that, Randy? You should be getting it.
I don't think I got it.
They don't want you to go.
I guess not.
We can get that shared if folks would like.
It'd be shared from Facebook, right?
Yeah, it's on Facebook, Joshua Environmental.
I said, not too many of us can go, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
mostly
we don't
gonna
want
be
a
planning
quorum.
a.
We don't want a quorum.
So,
I'm not gonna go.
I'm not gonna go
One
either.
less
You
meeting,
mean-
talk me into it.
Well, we could, public notice it.
yes, you would have to
Yeah.
give me some notice though,
Yeah.
if you're all gonna go. And if you all could show up, then it's best to notice it.
Mhm.
And it's really not a problem to notice it. I just need you
Yeah.
to notice me.
So a lot of the meeting on the 27th will just be to plan a bigger listening session. So since the planning meeting got snowed out, this will just be, they're trying to get a lot of different orgs to come help with the planning and the advertisement of the event. So I think that the actual listening session that they do conduct would be more beneficial to go to. But if you show up, I know Rachel, she's gonna make you do something, so.
Yeah, is everyone familiar with Joshua? It's a group of faith-based organizations that work toward different social justice projects, as you could say.
Any other updates or anything else?
I have reached out to Schreiber because they are one of these companies that are, you know, try to run a sustainable business. Sort of. And they do a zero waste, and I'm not really exactly sure what else they do, but they have that nature area outside. So if anyone's interested in joining me tomorrow, Colleen Gert, she's like the Director of Sustainability and Environment at that company, and I just thought we'd just talk and let her know about our group and see how they did that. Maybe she could come talk, I don't know. So, not sure where it's gonna go, but it sounds like a great company. That their website is pretty good.
Cool.
I talked to Schreiber a couple of years ago about their waste, their solid waste, recycling and garbage side of things.
Zero waste recycling, is that it, or zero waste?
Well, that was just their what they generated at that facility, the one downtown. And they were looking at how to recycle materials they had and looking at how to deal with organics in an effective manner, getting rid of plastics within the facility and things like that. So
Yeah.
I should look back and see who the guy was that I talked to. So there wasn't a woman you mentioned.
Okay.
I think I can pull his name up. It's been a couple of years. They were frustrated because they wanted to be able to recycle, use bags that are recyclable as part of garbage collection. And there aren't any out there that really work well. They kept on, the companies they were talking to kept on sending them back to basically yard waste bags. You know, use these. They didn't meet their requirements. So. Because there's a paper mill in town on the east side that does make bags for composting and for food waste that they sell in Canada. They don't sell in the US though.
Garbage bags, you mean plastic recycling?
No, these
or-
are paper. Everything's
okay.
paper. But that's part of it, is trying to find a bag that is, a paper bag that is sturdy enough that it won't break down if it has some liquid in it, but yet is still recyclable or compostable in this case. Plastic compostable bags are
No.
somewhat of a misnomer from what I understand talking to UW Oshkosh about their program. They have quite a few of them that make it through their anaerobic digester without breaking down. So anyway, so they're looking at other options.
Yeah, so what's the best choice at the store here? Plastic bags?
No, plastic bags are definitely not the best choice in any way, shape, or form.
No, a few grocery stores collect them. I wonder what they do with them.
They turn them into furniture. They sell
Into
them primarily,
benches.
they
Like
primarily sell them
Trex.
to a company called Trex, T-R-E-X.
Does it make
Makes
it-
plastic lumber. They're taking,
yeah.
they take what,
Nice
plastic
products.
bags are made out of what's called low-density polyethylene. And so there's a low, it's a fairly lightweight, one class I failed in college was chemistry, so don't ask me things like about this, but in general, they're trying to densify it and make it into lumber. They can't do it with other products very well because there's a much more readily available market for other things. High-density polyethylene is what milk jugs and laundry jugs are made out of, and those are very readily recyclable everywhere, curbside, easy to do. But plastic bags aren't, so they developed this market niche for using
We
those.
just need to make the plastic bags heavier.
Yeah, that, foolproof. There are lots of other issues with plastic bags that we don't even, they're the biggest headache we have as a recycling system. And that's true nationwide. So.
Unfortunately, in Wisconsin, local communities are prohibited. There's a ban on banning plastic bags.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a ban.
It's
Yeah.
actually called a
Yeah,
ban
isn't
on
it?
auxiliary containers.
Mhm.
So you can't ban styrofoam containers in restaurants, you can't ban plastic bags. That was passed 2016.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
Yeah, there's one stuck
Ban,
in
ban.
the tree.
A ban on bans.
A ban. We need a ban is what we really need.
Ban.
All right.
Remember Ban Ban?
Any other updates for the group?
I don't have an update, but I think after seeing your work plan, I think that's really helpful for me, actually, because I could probably come up with something like that more or less, and then that'll help kind of like figure out how we can move things forward in this group, like in this chart,
You
really.
can't use it.
I'll just copy and paste it and then put water resources at the top.
There you go.
No, but, so, and then also, there is a DNR stormwater planning grant that, the application's due in April. So it would be nice to try to work with Public Works, but also the planning department on maybe trying to figure out how to fund a green infrastructure code audit.
Cool.
So if they're willing, I don't know, if Steve Grenier is willing
That's
to
something
be.
we should probably talk about.
Pretty soon.
Yeah, we should, let's talk afterwards and make a date.
Oh, okay, that would be great. If it's really bringing planning, yeah, we can talk about it. Okay.
Awesome. All right, anybody else with updates? All right, we'll keep this on the agenda monthly, so if you have non-action items, you can always report back, any meetings or updates, and then just a reminder, if any of your meetings or things like that require action, to just request ahead of the deadline, so. Cool. Well, I guess.
Motion to adjourn?
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a
Second.
second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Randy and Essie.
Correct. Randy and Essie, thank you, Randy and Essie, Randy.
Leave the meeting.
Essie.
Leave the meeting,
Oh,
Jane.
no.
And you were checking, you missed one.
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, sweet.
No one is staying.
The hunties, yeah.
Thank you.
It's fine.
Thank you. 5. We hit 5 ponds tonight.